John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur, coming at you a little late, but I always promise to get these to you before I turn in for the evening. Today's actually Thursday, but this is actually Wednesday's IFWL Inspirations for Your Life. Thank you so much for tuning in. You'll just notice if you're new that there's a QR code at the top right. Use your phone, point to it, scan it. That'll take you over to my link tree. If you have any trouble getting over there with the QR code, you can just go to Believe, Believe, Achieve, ACHIEVE.com. And you know how we do this every week. We start with a master topic on Saturday. We end on Friday. So it's 7 days. And by the way, for those of you that are coming back, welcome back, my friends, colleagues, and wonderful associates. Thank you so much for joining again. And hopefully some of our new people become loyal, just like all of you guys. Really appreciate you so very, very much. The master topic is how and why to be responsible. What is the granular topic? That's a great question. We're going to talk about legal responsibilities. Wow, that's pretty cool. So, what are legal responsibilities? Well, what does it mean to be legally responsible? Well, it means that one has a legal obligation under the provisions of the state law to care for or make decisions. It could be for a person, it could be for whatever it is, could be for a certain situation, a company. So, what is legal responsibility? So, there's legal responsibility for individuals, right? We've heard things like power of attorney and stuff for family members and things like that. There's corporate legal liability and responsibility. That's a corporation's legal responsibility related to any criminal actions or any kind of actions that they may be involved in, whether that's criminal, whether it's civil. That's also something. So, what are three legal responsibilities? Well, let's get into that. So, there are a lot more than three. There is selling goods and services. There are contracts. There are leasing demises or premises. There's employee staffing, occupational health and safety, OHS, privacy and information protection, intellectual property, and of course, there are many, many others. You could be talking about stocks, mergers, acquisitions, just to name a few. So, what is an example of a legal responsibility? Well, I thought you'd never ask me. So, legal responsibility means the rights and responsibilities to determine and control various matters affecting a certain situation, whether it's a person for a child's welfare, whether it's a company, right? So, that's where that comes into play. What is legal responsibility meaning for the word important? Well, legal responsibilities are certainly important with respect to owners, but in today's litigious society, the threat of litigation against businesses arise most often from employees and consumer stakeholders. And so, what happens in this situation is somebody once told me, John, you could sue a ham sandwich. And I said to him, a ham sandwich? He said, you're not going to get much out of it. But yeah, you can sue a ham sandwich and you could put the ham sandwich through all the paces that you want, and you're not going to get anything more than just a ham sandwich. So that's why we have to know, does it make sense to sue? And, you don't want to have this natural demeanor that you're known as the person that always sues. I remember having a neighbor come over and had this very nice piece on the wall. It was actually like a tapestry, and then it had a little key, and then it had a little thing that stuck out, which was the actual key piece. Well, one time, this one lady that came over and her husband, she caught herself on the key, and I see her. She says, "Yeah," she says, "That's a lawsuit waiting to happen." So, first of all, I didn't invite them back anymore. Second of all, I took that tapestry down because I didn't want any more issues. But, some people are what we call sue happy or sue crazy. So, what does it mean when I say, what does it mean to be sue happy? Well, If the haunted house staff treats you with extra care and they don't subject you to the worst frights, it might not be because they like you, it's because they know you're litigious and you tend to sue people. So, what does being called sue mean? Well, to seek justice or right from a person by legal process. For example, I remember I was with a client and I was just asking a question about, how can they do this? And before I know it, they're suddenly saying they can sue me, and they weren't really doing that, but they were trying to emphasize a point. So, I think what happens is when we hear the word sue, it puts people into a tailspin. Now, there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself so that there's no endangerment to you or the other party, right? Um, People that are good with trends are what we can call sue happy because they're always out to sue someone. Like for example, there are people that go to like these shopping malls, and also in supermarkets. So there are people that travel supermarkets and fall and sue and make a living. So people say to me, John, I slipped and fell at a grocery store. Can I sue? So grocery stores are fraught with the slip and fall dangers all the time. For once, they're filled with various items containing liquids, slippery fruits, vegetables, and other items that can call to break and create dangerous situations. And of course, they usually have slick floors that get extra slippery when they're wet, which makes it even more of a mess. Fortunately, if you slipped and fell at a grocery store and suffered a serious injury as a result, you might have the ability to pursue financial compensation in court. But just because you fell does not mean you have the ability to sue. You could sue, but doesn't mean you're going to get anywhere. It's like suing a ham sandwich. If you fell at a grocery store and never assume that the accident was your fault, more importantly, never feel stupid because you fell. Grocery store slip and fall accidents give rise to thousands of personal injury cases every year. If you fell at a grocery store, you're definitely not alone. And, people failing to clean up these messes is a big problem. And what if I didn't buy anything and I didn't even go to the emergency room? Well, purchasing something at a place of business is not necessary for you to have the right to sue following a slip and fall. That's important. And when a store owner opens his or her doors for business and invites customers inside, he or she creates the duty to keep the premises safe. Even if your grocery store injury didn't require emergency medical care, it was still an injury, and the medical costs you incurred because of that injury could be recoverable. Now, not all grocery store accidents will result in the owner of the grocery store being liable. However, many of them will. In fact, if you got hurt in a slip and fall event at any kind of business place, you may want to explore your legal rights and options to pursue a personal injury claim for damages. But there are people in this world that they make a living suing. That's right. There are how can I say, there are people, I guess is the best way to say it, that make a living slipping, falling, and suing. And you know, these people are very slick because they always seem to know how and where to fall. They know where the most accidents are, and they just make the accident that happened look like an accident, but really, ladies and gentlemen, it was a staged slip and fall. So they can try to, yes, abuse the courts, abuse the legal system, and go after for a very hefty settlement. You know, when we think about legal responsibility, this can be muddy. But when I ask you, what is legal responsibility? If I asked you that question right now, what would you say? Well, you would say that it's something that you need to uphold so that you don't have any unnecessary fines or cause any issues, right? So, legal responsibility, again, is a term. And this term has a standard, okay? But there are legal responsibilities. And if somebody falls out of those legal responsibilities, well, then it's somebody's job to try to sue them. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to mention the person's name, but someone I know for a while has owned some buildings, and they're not the nicest. In fact, they have 10 lawyers. I'm probably exaggerating, but roughly about 10 lawyers. They have a couple that handle the day-to-day legal contract issues. They have a couple that handle what I call the harassment issues, whereby, you have an issue and you want to have it handled. However, they claim that you are harassing them, or they try to be like the, let's say, let's try to threaten you because we're going to be able to put a lot more money up. So we're just letting you know that we're going to win and you're going to lose. So you don't have a choice. See, that's a bad thing. But a lot of people do this. A lot of people do this. Maybe they were burnt. I'm not sure what it is, but there are reasons, okay? Handbook of Research of Organizational Rules and Laws, implications of business accidents, evidence-based lessons to understand how to protect yourself, the employee, the contractor, etc. And what kind of legal responsibility do you have as a business owner when somebody comes in and visits, right? We've talked about the word responsibility before, right? The obligation to answer for an act done and to repair any injury it may have caused, right? Could be legal, etc. Now, when we think about legal responsibility, the first thing that probably dings in people's heads is, all right, I need to get a lawyer. Doesn't necessarily mean that. Legal responsibility just means that you need to understand the law. If you understand it well enough, then you don't need to get a lawyer. But a lot of times, if you're going to put a contract together, it's good to get a lawyer to make sure that it's enforceable in court. Because a lot of times people download these contracts and then they go to court and they find out they're not enforceable. And it even says in the contract that if any part or tort of this contract cannot be enforced, it will be thrown out in court. However, the rest will remain in full effect unless the court deems that that is also, not able to be enforced. So, responsibility, legal responsibility. You have a legal responsibility when you drive, right? You need to have your accident insurance, right? You need to have insurance. You need to have, right? You need to have your collision, right? So let's talk about this for a second. So types right now of car insurance. Now, why am I going down this path? Okay, so the reason I'm going down the path is I want you to understand something, right? You have liability and you have collision, right? And so a lot of people, will have liability, but they may not have collision. That means their own car is not protected. So anyone that, let's say, doesn't have insurance, well, they're probably going to be someone that's a challenge. I remember I was at a shooting range several years ago, and my car was going to be going off lease in about 6 months or so. But anyway, I was there. I was sitting in my car. And as I was sitting in my car, I just fastened my seatbelt. And then I felt this bump, like right from behind. I was like, I didn't even start the car. How did that happen? And so I get out of the car and I see this kid. And he tells me, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I guess I must have hit the gas instead of the brake. I'm so sorry. Whatever I can do." I said, "Well, can I have your license and registration?" He says, "Well," he shows me the license and registration. And his license is the kind that's actually not horizontal, it's vertical. That means that he is basically a new driver. And so I don't know if you guys will know this, but at least I know it's in the state in New Jersey. If the license is not horizontal, it's a new driver. Did you know that? Okay. So a vertical ID is something that has a photo ID on it, but the thing is, a vertical ID is a probationary license, right? And so this basically means that the New Jersey driver has successfully completed 1 year of unsupervised driving on their probationary license, and that they can upgrade to a basic license. So when you have a probationary license, there are restrictions. Let's talk about this for a moment. So what are the restrictions on a probationary New Jersey license? Well, let me tell you. So probationary driver licenses allow you to drive on your own, but no hands-free or handheld electronic devices can be used while driving. And everybody in your car must wear a seatbelt. They always should do that. If you're younger than 21 years of age, there are more restrictions. That's right. No driving between 11:01 p.m. and 5 o'clock a.m. So what can you do with a probationary license? Well, probationary license, there's no driving between 11:01 a.m. and 5 a.m. Okay, excuse me, 11:01, excuse me, p.m. and 5 a.m. Passengers must be from your household. Okay. If you're at least 21 years old, there are no passengers or hour restrictions. You can't use cell phones, handheld video games, or any other handheld electronic device. So, what they're trying to do is teach the young driver responsibility, right? So what happened was he showed me this license, and first thing was, I felt bad because, I said, "Gee, he just got his license. He's a probationary. He didn't even really get his license yet." And, I asked him for his license registration, and I took it and I saved it. He says, "Well, please don't report anything." He's like, "I'll work with you, yada, yada." I said, "Okay, fine." And I said, "Well, I'm going to get an S." He said, "Okay, that's fine." He said, "I have a friend too." So and I called him back and told him where I was going to have it fixed. And he said, "Well, my friend's in the auto body shop." He says, "I know somebody." He says, "He could probably help you. You could take it down. He'll give you a price." So I went down there too. And he wasn't going to fix the car. He was going to just repair it by not replacing the bumper and things that he cracked and damaged. Now, in my car, I didn't really see any damage, but when they took off the bumper, there was quite a few $1,000s of damage. Now, the interesting thing is when I went to reach out to the person after that week, I wound up getting in touch with his mother. And she pretty much told me that but he said that I never said that I didn't want to fix it. And I said, "I never said that." Well, he didn't really do anything anyway, and everything's all fine. And so I was just appalled by how this mother was stepping up for their kid when they were wrong. Now, I get that parents step up for their kids. I get that all the time. But if somebody's wrong, like if they hurt someone, they harm someone, they kill someone, or they hopefully don't do that, or they hit a car, I would think that the parent is not going to stand up for them, right? They're going to tell them you need to face the consequences. And so when that happened, I realized that this kid was skirting by and I would have to pay for it out of my own pocket. I did the deductible, obviously. And the interesting thing was that he got off scot-free with me. But I learned something. Somebody ever hits me, it's license and registration, and there's no mercy. Like, I don't care if you're probationary, if you're a seasoned driver, I don't care what you are. We're going to call the police and we're going to get this written up. Because what happened was when I went back to try to get all this done, nothing could be done because now it was a hearsay situation. And the legal responsibility really fell upon me because I didn't call the police. Again, there was no major accident. It was just like a little hit, but still, I should have called the police. I asked the owner of the shop, could I get footage of the camera? He says, I really don't want to do that. And he was trying to protect the kid. And it just really irked me that here I am with my car. I wasn't doing anything wrong. And this kid just hit me. And they're all telling me that I'm blowing this out of proportion. So if I would have called the cop and I would have got him there, they would have subpoenaed the guy's butt and gotten the footage from the camera. So get the police involved. Even if it doesn't become a legal matter, it's important to have it on record because it's documented. Now, guess what's going to happen? You get a copy of the police report. I get a copy of the police report. And now we have each other's information. And if something doesn't transpire the way we're expecting it to go by, nothing has to happen. But if, let's say, people don't do what they're supposed to do, well, then we report it to the insurance company. I remember calling their insurance company. I think it was Liberty at the time, Liberty Mutual. And what a runaround. They just were professional people at being able to, let's say, jolt from their legal responsibilities, telling me that he really didn't hit me, that maybe I thought he hit me, but he really didn't. There was no damage. I'm like, are these people like insane? So moral of the story here is that if somebody hits you, I don't care if you're parked, wherever it is, and I don't mean just a moving accident. I'm talking about, you could just be in your car and somebody hits you. Get their license and registration, okay? Even say, oh, please don't report it. Look, I won't report it as long as we can get this resolved. I was going 1 week, 2 weeks, and he was jerking me around. If I would have had his case documented with the police report, he would have lost. Because now if he didn't do what he was supposed to do and I reported to the insurance company and they still didn't handle it, well, now I could go back to the police and I could file something with the court and saying he's not his responsibility. And now we can make the insurance companies go back. But usually when you get that report, one insurance company is going to push the other. Now, my insurance company tried to push their insurance company, but because I didn't have it documented, little sheet with it documented, now they told me I could call somebody and they could meet me there. And it was like a self-disclosure, but it was just like a he said, she said. So legal responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, is so important, whether we're talking about in our personal lives, whether we're talking about a trust, whether we're talking about in our business, contractors, our safety, driving, insurance, stocks, bonds, investments. We got to understand our legal responsibility when we do something, whether we do a personal guarantee, and what are the responsibilities that we want to bind somebody else to. Really important to know these things. And if you don't, that's when it's time to get an attorney. Ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am by now. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a privilege, been a pleasure, been an honor to be with you this evening. Before I go, I want to share something really important. Today, ladies and gentlemen, actually yesterday, August 17th, yes, it's National, do you know what it is? It is National Not-for-Profit Day. Did you know that? So National Not-for-Profit Day started on August 17th in 1894. It was a tariff act that was signed into law, which included exemptions for nonprofit organizations. Today, we observe August 17th as National Nonprofit Day to acknowledge the positive impact the nonprofit organizations have on our local communities and around the globe. But who started the Nonprofit Day? Well, that's a great question. It was started by Sharita J. Herring, incentives like this one make nonprofit environments more accessible to new organizations And Sharita J. Herring is an author and respected speaker and launched the National Nonprofit Day. Its goal was to educate and empower everyone to be the change we want to see in the world. It's almost like what Gandhi said, right? If you want to see, you have to see the change, right? And so, what I want to share with you is that nonprofits are really important, especially 501c3 nonprofits that are truly 501c3, because they have the tax um, forgiveness at the federal level. And so, if you're on the fence about whether you should help a not for profit, think again, because there could be a very big tax reason that you can get deductions because you gave away some of your money from your business, or personally, you'll get that deduction back on your taxes. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Like, love, and support my channel. Definitely comment below. Does responsibility for legality mean a little more to you? And did you think about what happened to me in that, not hit and run, but kind of like hit and let's try to, if we will, conjure the truth. And then they did something very interesting, which was never being around. And then when I had to go there and finally get his mother pretty much told me not to come around anymore. He's a minor and it's under her and it's done. And so I had nothing to stand on because I had nothing documented. If I would have had a police report, she would not have been able to shrug that. So definitely get a police report. Tag your friends, colleagues, and associates. Share this out with everyone you know on social media. And then be sure to go to my YouTube channel, John Space C Space MORLEY Space Serial Entrepreneur, and look for that key phrase, help keep our content free. And make the choice, ladies and gentlemen, to buy my team and I a cup of coffee. You know, we'll be so grateful with those pennies and dollars from what we get for those watermelons and those ice cream cones, that we'll put that to new technology, new equipment, software, facilities, even new staff to give you the most jaw-dropping motivational content. I thank you so much for popping in tonight, actually, yesterday, and we kind of went into the new day, which is Thursday. But I hope you've at least taken a few moments to understand what legal responsibility means in the many different caveats and dichotomies of life. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and I'm going to see you a little later tonight. Take care, everyone.